Hello everyone, and welcome to another Hamster Sale Starcraft 2 broadcast. Today we have a PVZ on Shakuras Plateau. Didn't forget the name of it this time. We've got another user-submitted replay. I guess I'm going to continue calling it until I think of a more appropriate name. I believe I just named the Protoss player Violetmould. His opponent, the Zerg, Petraeus. I actually don't know who submitted this replay, so it's going to be surprising to me to see who does well, who wins, because generally, when I cast my games, I cast a game I've won. I think generally you send a replay in to somebody to get casted. It's one where you win or you do well. So, I'm actually going to be genuinely surprised. And hopefully, if you are the one who sent it in, he signed his email Mac. So Mac, if you're listening, feel free to comment and tell us which player you are in this game. That is who sent me the email. So it is going to be PVZ on Shakuras Plateau. I like this map as Zerg. You know, there's only 2 spots your opponent can be in. They actually changed the map so your opponent cannot spawn directly below or above you. So that's always good for Zerg. Not as many locations to scout, which means you can pick up on that cheesy stuff that Protoss and Terran like to do. A little bit easier. Protoss is going for 1 gateway at this point. We're going to see where his build diverges, if he goes for the cyber core or for some 2-gate aggression. We don't know. That's what's exciting about StarCraft. Every game could be a little different. Are we getting a little lag back in time when this game originally happened? I don't know. I don't know. He's not getting an answer? No lag. No lag from Violetmould. A little bit of lag for Petraeus. I hope I'm saying that name correctly, and it's not some incredibly common name that I am just ignorant of how to pronounce. What is this Protoss doing? He's getting a gas first opening, so no Forge Fast Expand for him. And there goes the Cyber Core, so gonna expect to see some of those gas units first. A Stalker, a Sentry or 2 maybe, who knows. Gonna have to wait, gonna have to play this early game waiting game. And oh my god, we have a proxy hatchery inside the Protoss base. I love this. It's something I've seen on a few people's streams, some pro gamer streams. It's usually in response to some kind of cheesy cannon in, but Petraeus is doing it straight off the bat, and Violetmould keeping an eye on that proxy hatch with his cannon, enjoying it. Petraeus is enjoying his proxy hatch. Violetmould has no idea what to think about it. Send your zealot at the proxy hatch. My god, what else can he be doing? You do not want to be doing that, though. Not the best idea to send all your probes against a proxy hatch. It's going to take them forever to kill it. Oh my god, this is brutal to watch. If you do kill that before it builds, though, you don't have to deal with the broodlings, which can be pretty brutal this early. Larger Zerg structures, when killed, do produce a fair amount of broodlings. Looks like he's going to force the cancel. So you lose about 75 minerals when you cancel a hatchery, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's well worth it to pull that many probes off of mining for that long. Going to allow the Zerg to safely fax expand, which he probably could have anyway, but throwing a wrench into the mix, he decided to get a proxy hatchery inside the Protoss base. This guy, Violetmould, probably hasn't seen that too many times unless he's a big-time cannon rusher. You probably see that much more often if you love to cannon rush people, but no cannon rush this game. Petraeus is just a wacky bastard. Excuse me, I'm going to cough for a second here. Really need to work out some kind of cough button if I'm going to keep this casting thing up. So yeah, you know, this is one of those game resets that we're seeing. That we saw proxy hatch inside the Protoss base, something incredibly wacky, but just ended up canceling the hatch. Protoss went back to mining, and if I hadn't been talking about it for the last couple of minutes, you might never know if you're just coming in on this game at this point in time. Petraeus has about 4 Zerglings on the field, a single one on this watchtower. I'd like to see him doing some scouting with another one, but that's okay. He's got about 3 just chilling here for now. Maybe grab the south watchtower, sneak a peek at the 3rd, see if Protoss is potentially taking a 3rd, even though he's just now taking his natural expansion. Which seems a little late. maybe thrown off by that proxy hatch inside the base. I know when I see some wacky shit, sometimes I get a bit thrown off. Here we have Petraeus sacking an Overlord to get scouting on his opponent. Pretty standard 3-gate expo from Violetmould here. So if you see this as a Zerg, you're probably either going to macro up super hard or go for some kind of roach-based all-in. But I don't believe Petraeus has a Roach Warren yet, so he's going to deal with his supply cap issue and no doubt churn out tons and tons of drones. Sending the Zerglings in for scouting, you gotta love that. Especially when it's supply capped, because those lings die, you might be able to make a drone or two. Wasn't going to happen there, but yep, as soon as he breaks his supply cap, he is macroing out 9 drones just like a champ. Throwing down a couple of spines, probably threw those down about 50 seconds ago. I think it takes exactly 50 seconds to build a spine crawler, an extremely long time. But luckily they are great static defense that you can reposition, so I can't be too mad with my lovely spine crawlers. I get to build as a Zerg. Petraeus spreading his overlords out here, keeping some good vision on the Protoss opponent. I'd like to see the Zerg expand pretty soon. I usually expand at about 10 minutes, so we're going to be looking at that the next couple minutes. You do want to make sure you have full saturation before you take that third, ideally. But I would like to see it go down sooner rather than later, unless he has some kind of 2-base timing attack in mind, which Zerg sometimes does in this matchup, just to avoid those scary Colossi that sometimes come out to ruin your day. God, Colossus ruins so many of my days. I get so angry when I lose to Colossus in the late game. I feel like I've been macroing like a champ. And then, you know, you just see those towering robots of death roll across the map. Sometimes you don't even scout them. Well, of course you should be suspecting Colossus as a Zerg player, but you just don't scout it for some reason, and then they barbecue all your units. No worse feeling in this game. And we might see Colossus this game. The robotics facility is out. Do we have an observer out on the field? We do not yet. Would like to see this utilized for an observer, since no tech is out, no Immortals in production. I'd like to see that building utilized. He's no doubt going to be going for Colossus, because that's usually what Protoss get, but we'll have to wait and see. Twilight Council going out to accompany the Robo Base, so we might see some kind of Blink Stalker combination. I don't know. We do have the Pathogen Glands an upgrade going down for the Zerg, so we're going to see some fun Infestor play. Once your Pathogen Glands research reaches 30 seconds, you can start spamming the Infestors, and they will come out with the extra energy. It's exactly 30 seconds. I've done it myself many times, so that's a little pro tip for you. And our Zerg player Petraeus is going to come out, have 5 Infestors with that boosted energy in no time. Gotta love me some Infestor play, I guess I should say. Infestor's a great unit. I think some premature cries of imbalance from the previous races. So quick to call a Zerg unit imbalanced when we have to deal with all kinds of silly Colossus, Medivac drop, Hellion nonsense from the other races. So quick for them to cry about Infestors. It's been about 2 months since the buff, I think, unless I've lost track of time, and you know, figure out how to deal with it. You know, Protoss, you have this unit called a High Templar. You can instantly massacre an Infestor from pretty long range with a simple click of the button, so maybe learn how to use that unit. But anyway, I've digressed. Let's keep an eye on these two opponents here, who are both sticking on 2 base. Petraeus has gone well past that 10-minute mark I mentioned earlier without expanding, so he may intend to just invest all his gas in Infestors and make some kind of timing and push here, which can be very effective. I don't know if any of you watch Root Destiny's stream, but this is a very similar push that I've seen him do many times on his stream on YouTube. Yep, there is the burrow Infestors. What I think we're going to see here is a ton of infested Terrans here at the natural, usually used to either completely kill the army or snipe the Expo, which the Protoss so greatly relies on. 2-base Protoss so much more powerful than 1-base. So difficult to spot these burrowed Infestors, especially since he doesn't have that aforementioned observer I was babbling about earlier. And 5 Infestors with this much energy throwing down infested Terrans can do a ton of damage, especially when followed up by a Ling run by. A lot of things come into play here. Does the Protoss get force fields down in time? Oh my gosh, he gets the observer out on the field, and those infestors are forced to run. So like to see some fungals here, fungal growth. The Protoss army, you can do it, Petraeus. But excellent reaction by Violetmould, getting the observer out on the field. Perhaps just do some scouting. Perhaps he anticipated infestors. Perhaps he saw the little burrowed tracks they make in the ground. Burrowed units capable of doing burrowed movement with Zerg. You can see them in the ground if you're looking very, very closely. I noticed a probe went over the infestors about the time he was going to make that attack. So Violetmould potentially has very, very good eyes, better than I do. I almost never see burrowed units moving out across the field without detection. So that would have been an amazing reaction by him. Able to take his third behind this. Similarly, Petraeus was taking his third behind that failed push, but didn't lose any infestors, which is very important. By far the most expensive unit in his composition right now, and he has doubled his infestor numbers. There's 11 infestors on the field, nearly doubled, investing a lot of minerals into Lings. So this army, I think, from Zerg can completely take out this gateway-based composition from the Protoss. We're going to have to see, though. Yeah, you see a ton of chain fungals going to completely wipe out the Protoss army if he keeps up the fungal growth. Yeah, I've seen this many times in PvZ, both from my own games, some pro gamers lately. This is why Protoss don't like fungal growth. You can understand why. Such a devastating spell against gateway units. But, you know, Zerg with infestors has the tech advantage on a Protoss with gateway tier 1 units, so like to see some either immortals out in the mix to deal with a roach infestor, or in this case we've got ling infestor, so you know, maybe get some Templar, morph them into Archons, and deal with the lings very well, and potentially hold off long enough to take out the infestors. Fungal growth not too effective against Archons either, so Archon's a strong counter, and Zealots, of course, very cost effective against lings. But instead we had primarily a stalker-based composition from our opponent. Violetmould, I say our opponent, I'm so biased for Zerg, but can't help it. Play Zerg, love him. He's wisely getting some Zealots, though. Always mixing some compliments for those races I play against whenever possible. A lot of the Zealots here are going to be able to deal with the Lings extremely cost-effectively. Fungal growth not too great against Zealots either. It takes a bunch of fungal growths to kill them, because it doesn't do that bonus damage like it does against Armored. And they have a good amount of life. They got 150 life, so I think it takes something like 4 or 5 fungals, something silly, to kill them. So that's a great unit against infestors and Zerglings alike, the Zealot. Just costs you 100 minerals, Protoss, so yeah, if you see heavy infestor ling play, very smart to get these Zealots, just like Violetmould is here. Stalkers lose a lot of effectiveness, especially these blink stalkers against infestors. Obviously you can't blink when fungaled, so huge fungal growth going down on every single Zealot, though. Let's count if I was right about that fungal count. That's fungal number 3. Fungal number 4 and 5 are going to be necessary to kill it. Don't back out. You need to do the last fungal, I think. Yeah, it does take 5 fungals to kill a Zealot. Needs to get a last one on there. All those units are in red. Are you playing with HP bars on? You are. You murder all those Zealots. Or maybe you were just spamming fungal. But trying to neural parasite the immortal, no doubt there. But huge fungals going down all these Protoss units. Despite a decent Zealot mix, he had his Zealots caught out of position, completely destroyed by chain fungals, 5 fungals, killing tons and tons of Zealots. That must have been 12 Zealots or 1,200 minerals worth of Zealots. So these infestors being extremely cost effective, as they often are. Let's check out the units lost tab. Where is that? 10,000 resources lost in the units lost tab for our Protoss player here. To only 4.9k for the Zerg, so being extremely clever and effective with his infestors. A lot of people very, very quick to call them imbalanced, but really gonna force Protoss and Terran players to adapt their play. Start using Ghosts and High Templar, for God's sakes. Such a great unit against infestors. Instead, electing to stick with Stalkers because they shoot and they can teleport, which is pretty cool, but they also die really, really fast when they come up against this fat little bug, the infestor, which I have fallen in love with. Petraeus has similarly fallen in love with it, getting out roaches to be an even stronger background, deal with the large amount of zealots that Violetmould had before, excuse me. And Protoss stuck on gateway units. Would love to see him transition even into Colossus as a better alternative to gateway units, even though those can be neural parasited. You do have to admit, fellow Zerg players, that Infestor an extremely versatile unit, but not without its counters. You need healthy number of zealots and then some Templar to take them out. There we go, some High Templar coming onto the field. That's what I'm talking about, folks. Feedback deals 1 damage per energy stored on a caster unit. Like an Infestor, only has to have 90 energy to be one shot. All these Infestors above 90 energy, so single feedback would kill them. Feedback only 50 energy, so multiple feedbacks easily possible per High Templar as long as they've stored a little bit of energy. Well, it's kind of a shame they took away the High Templar energy upgrade. I wasn't seeing too much Protoss, too many Protosses abuse that at my level of play where they could warp in High Templar and immediately store my mineral line with a proxy pylon. I don't know why they nerfed that. That was kind of a shame. I'd be fine with them bringing back the Cadrian Amulet or whatever they called it, the High Templar energy upgrade. Because I sure do love me an energy upgrade with the Infestor. Petraeus, though, bringing out the Ultralisk way ahead of his Protoss opponent on tech. These Ultralisks are just badass. Not particularly great counter against the Protoss unit mix. Really, really good if there's Colossus, because they just absolutely massacre Colossus. But gonna be able to, if he did have Sentry, the Colossus would be great for breaking down the force field. But Violetmould electing not to rebuild sentries after losing them in that initial engagement. I believe he had 1 or 2 sentries. Yeah, we did see force fields earlier. So Violetmould sticking with a very, very basic unit composition, only 2 High Templar. Not sure if he counted how many Infestors there were in that previous battle, but there's a lot more than the 4 that these 2 High Templar could probably deal with, so would have liked to have seen more from him. I do like this Warp Prism for quick reinforcements in the battle here. We're going to see how this works though. Ultra, Ling, Infestor, common build nowadays against this gateway heavy unit mix from the Protoss. Ultra's going to work, ravaging the Zealot front lines. These Stalkers are next. Nice blink. Completely dodged that fungal there. That was pretty sweet, but not going to be enough. Fungal way, way too strong against Stalkers, doing lots of bonus damage. I believe it does 40 plus damage against the Stalker. And my god, this Protoss army completely wiped out. Blue explosions everywhere. Zealots bursting into blue flame. Ultralists pounding their way across the field. Expected GG at any moment. Immortal getting some free shot on this armored opponents, doing that bonus damage it loves to do, but shortly taken out by Roach Fire. And not sure what this Protoss opponent hopes to do. Does have a lot of bases. Maybe just trying to cobble together a defensive force here to hold off the Zerg onslaught, but it is not going to happen. That is a ton of Ultras and burrowed Infestors coming in from the south. No doubt going to throw down a bazillion infested Terrans. There they are. Great use of Infestor in this game. Not imbalanced at all. Keep it the way it is, Blizzard. Please, please, please. So nice to have a good unit for a change. And Zerg looks to be victorious today in what has been my 3rd user submitted replay. So much fun to do these. Thank you so much for sending this email, Mac. Not sure which player you were in this game. I'm going to go ahead and assume you were the victorious Zerg. What I assume is the victorious Zerg also, but no way he's going to win this one. Violetmould, GG, well played. Appreciating some good Infestor play, as all Protoss players should. Very well done, Petraeus. God, I love your Infestor play. This is a very fun game to watch. I don't know what league it was from. I'm going to assume maybe, platinum level, around platinum level. Looks like about the type of level game I play, even though Petraeus played a fair amount better than I usually do. Ended up with 4 base macro going on. I didn't mention that too much. Was kind of babbling about Infestors and unit mixes without keeping huge dibs on exactly your base count. Protoss had taken a 3rd, but 5 bases for Petraeus, and very well played overall. Thanks for sending it in. I assume that was you sending it in, Petraeus. Otherwise, you just were a very appreciative Protoss player, loving the Infestor play. So either way, thank you very much. Let me know in the comments if possible. And as I awkwardly figure out a way to sign out, I'll just say thanks for the replay, bruh.